Welcome to the channel, people. I have compiled 20 of my favorite fall DIYs from last year, and I'm doing this with a whole new voiceover to help you learn from whatever struggles I have learned doing DIYs in the last year so you can make these better for your home. Let's get started with this DIY number one with this cloche dome piece from Dollar Tree, little candle stick thingy that you see from Dollar Tree, and little mini pumpkins. You will also need everything you see here. This is not the clay I use any longer. However, there's nothing wrong with it. You can still purchase this off Amazon and it will do the trick. Let's start with the clay. All right. I had to do it. Sorry. I had to do it. Clay. Okay. Whenever you're working with clay, you want to get that started first because it takes a little while to dry, and doing DIYs, we have no patience for drying. So I usually do this the night before whenever I'm doing anything with clay, so that way the next day I can get up and get to business. And with this project, this did not take too long. I put some fans on them, and I took the bottom of one of the little strips and just smooshed it into the baby pumpkin, and then used a little bit of water and this little tool. If you do not have this tool, use a dowel. It's not a big deal. Whatever's free. But I purchased these off Amazon for like $6. They're fondant tools. You're also going to see here I'm making another stem. This is because the very second project is going to be another dome cloche DIY, and I try to make my life easier and do as much of one thing that requires drying at a time. So this one I'm giving 2 stems because the pumpkin's a little bit bigger than the teeny one. See, it's kind of, I know it looks kind of funny right now. Give it time. We'll get there. Next, I'm prepping the little florals we're going to use on the tiered mini pumpkin, which is our first one that we're doing out of these first 2. And we're just flattening out the fondant we're flattening out the clay and using these fondant hole punches that you can purchase off Amazon and making little flowers. And the clay can be fuzzy, like it has hairy bits, so you want to make sure you take your finger, and you can use a little bit of water for that too if you want, and push them down. But if you do not, it will look like your clay pieces are fuzzy. They're fuzz. So just push it down, okay? For the first one of these, it's going to be on this little candle holder. It's going to be a little tiered one with a knob, and the second one is not. It's just going to like sit flat, and I'm spraying that one metallic, and the one that we're working on, the tiered one, is getting sprayed white. For the knob piece on top of this, you can purchase, they have little like peg things at Walmart in a pack. If you don't have anything, I think the knob that I'm using is from a thrifted item. Also, a little tip, if you're going to use pastel colors and you want to use acrylic color, mix it with a little bit of your chalk paint, so you only have to do 1 coat. These took several coats because it's kind of translucent. I love acrylic paints, but sometimes you have to do more coats because they're not as thick as a chalk base. So just mix a little bit of chalk paint, and it'll save you some work in the end. Paint your stem whatever color you want, and if you want to give it some dimension, use different variants of that color to do that. It kind of gives it, an extra look. Next, we're going to make a mess. I hate the small stuff. This is not changed. Okay, this is so the same. I hate using this stuff. It's like when I got to get out the raffia, I'm like hitting myself in the head, like, oh, the things I do for YouTube. Also, be mindful when you're gluing this on top. Don't do like I did and glue it sideways. Make sure you kind of, sit it down, figure that out before you go just eyeballing it. Sometimes some things are not meant to be eyeballed here. I'm then just going to paint our little, once these dry, if you're using clay and they're small pieces like this, you can put them in front of a fan, and usually they'll dry fairly quickly, like an hour or 2. You don't have to wait a full 24 hours with small little things like this. I'm also going to just create little dimensions in the florals because I like teeny tiny things, and I'm not torturing myself enough as I'm going along with this. These little pearl surrounded diamond things I picked up from Dollar Tree, and I cut off the tiny little diamonds individually and placed them in the center for a little bit of glam, and that's it for this one. That music just has me like, okay. On to the second one. I'm giving this a prep coat of gesso. If you're not familiar with gesso, it's basically like a prime in a paint form. We're going to use it again in one of my favorite DIYs I've ever done. So I can't wait to share that with you. Once your gesso dries, you're going to then take some washi tape and go around all the little indents in your pumpkin and pick whatever color you want. This would look awesome any color, but my mom, this was for my mama. So, well, actually it really wasn't for my mama. She kind of just took it. Anything I make that's blue, she assumes automatically that that's hers. God, I love that woman. Anyhow, you only get one mom, love her. Okay. So I then peeled the washi tape off once it was all done to reveal the little stripes, and went along with the same process as we did in the first one and did different variations of colors to create that depth and that look in the stem. Seriously, with this moss, it is... And I really just started throwing things on top here that I had from Dollar Tree, little scrap pieces just laying around. I'm terrible with this floral stuff until I came up with this. So how y'all doing? 7 minutes in this mega video. You good? You still feeling fuzzy inside about this time length here? You like what you're watching? Of course, my favorite way to paint these palettes when it's nice out is spray paint, but letting it dry. Never fun. This DIY is one of my favorites, and honestly, it was really easy because all we're doing is taking some ribbon and taking some burlap fabric, this beautiful LED candle that I got from Christmas tree shops. I love me some Christmas tree shops. Now, what I would do differently now if I were to recreate this is I would put on some E6000 or my favorite Gorilla Glue gel. Don't just hot glue things, you know, it just doesn't give you that long-lasting bond. But look at this. Once you put the little, you know, the little LED candle in there, it's super cute. Now, also a little tip, and I actually do it in here. I was patting myself on the back when I was watching these clips. I'm like, go ahead, girl, because I use tacky glue to attach the fabric pieces. Now, I did use the hot glue to get it down quickly, but then came back in with the tacky glue to go over and make sure the fabric pieces stuck together. I did paint this little leaf with chalkboard paint for some versatility, so you can use this all year long if you want, but we're gonna put Bless on this and fill it with some florals. Serious, I love this song. I'm sorry, you're going to hear this the next 30-some minutes. I can't help it. Anyhow, this was one of my first experiences ironing on a napkin. I had done something a little bit similar, but not really. If you're going to iron on a napkin when you're decoupaging, of course, paint your palettes whatever color. These are the Dollar Tree palettes. This little thankful thing is also from the Dollar Tree. You paint it whatever color you want. They have several different styles of these. Recently, I've seen a rainbow one. How cool would that be? So you can get this, put it, you know, paint it however you want. Attach your two palettes together on the sides. Make sure that you're using wood glue or you're using your E6000 or your Gorilla Glue gel, not just the hot glue. This is where I guess that was just for crafter's sake. Once this is dry, once it's dry, you're going to pull out your wax paper and you're going to get all the sneaky layers off your napkin. Okay, layers, there's usually two. Sometimes you get lucky and there's one. For this particular project, I cut my napkin into pieces so it would lay properly, and I got the pretty flowers around the thankful so you could see them a little bit better. Make sure your Mod Podge is dry really well, and you want to also make sure that you have thick layers around the edges. Then you iron on your napkin. This is one of the best ways if you are a person that does not like clumps or also make sure that you do not iron over the paint Mod Podge with the iron and the wax paper, because obviously it's going to stick. Try and just iron over your napkin. But back to the whole decoupaging thing, if you do not like, you know, bunchiness and crumpliness, it bothers you with the wrinkles, use the iron-on method. It is a sure way to make sure that it's really smooth. Go over your piece with some Mod Podge, and for this I'm creating like a floral hanging thing so you can hang it on the wall. And I always like to create a base, I still do whenever I'm doing florals, for your floral to stick on. So I'm just gluing two large popsicle sticks together, and then I'm gonna hammer in this sawtooth hammer hanger, and you can purchase these off Amazon. I like these because they're simple to use other than having to do the little screw-in ones. That's a pain in my booty. Attached everything. Look, I'm getting smart now. I'm busting out the E6000 and adding it in there. And I also take some of this twine to tie in to give us our little rope hanging, and then loop it around the popsicle stick, tie it in there, throw in some fairy lights, and call it a day. The reason I didn't use the same light that they gave me is because I couldn't turn it on and off through the back. Who wants some more decoupage? You? Okay, good. Because we're decoupaging this piece too. I take these smaller palettes, and of course they're all painted beforehand. I cut a lot of this stuff out because I feel like some of it's pertinent, some of it's not. And I'm sure, you know, you see me spray paint one palette, you see me spray paint them all. Okay? I'm attaching all the palettes like this, and that gets me every time. Like, I still, you know, I got all kinds of E6000 on that popsicle stick and then on my finger. Make sure you're careful because that stuff, oh, it's dangerous. But we Mod Podge this up as well after we attach the popsicle sticks to give us some brace on the back, and then did the same iron on with your napkin, and then taking the sandpaper to get off the edges. You want to make sure that this is completely dry also before you do this, because if not, that sandpaper is going to, even with the X-Acto knife, if it's not dry, your napkin's going to drag and it's going to be down your project. So make sure it's thoroughly dry before you attempt either one. Once your braces on the back of this project are all dry and secure, you want to then attach your little hanging mechanism, whatever makes you feel fuzzy inside. Again, I really like these. It's a 1, 2, 3 deal, and you just hammer, 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 and it's over with, and you're ready to pop it up on the wall. For some accents, I threw in some florals on this. Again, Mod Podge it up to seal on that napkin around the edges so you don't have any peeling, and add whatever florals you want. I'm gonna joke myself for a second here. This is so speedy right here. All the pieces came from Hobby Lobby. I don't know who I was trying to show the pieces at this point in time, because I'm like, look at this. And then I was switching like every 2 seconds. I'm like, man, I can't even see it. I don't know how I expected anybody else to pay attention to what I was showing them. So freeze frame all that, people, and take little screenshots if you're interested. At the time I picked up these spray paints from Target. However, you know, you can pick these up at Walmart, Home Depot, and Lowe's. This is technically a Dollar Tree DIY, and we're going to take this foam pumpkin and stick a dowel in its booty to allow me to be able to paint it and not make a mess everywhere. Remember I said we were going to see the gesso? We're going to apply a nice coat of gesso on here to get us a protective layer, so when we spray paint it, this don't happen. Because if you just try to spray paint your foam pumpkin without this gesso on here, it's going to eat it like some acid. However, gesso, beautiful, comes out beautiful. These little sparkle pieces came from Dollar Tree, and I decided to get the brilliant idea to cut sections of these in little circles with the power roll, and then completely circled by diamonds. It was a pain in my booty. It was if you want to do it, do it. I'm not going to discourage it. I love this pumpkin. I love this. Be careful though, let this dry, because if not, the paint will kind of come off with your little sticker, so I can at least tell you that. But see how we have these extras? I saved them and have been using them ever since. I still actually have that. This pumpkin actually stays up in my house all year long. It is one of my favorite DIYs I've ever made. See how it's sticking right there? Yeah. You want to make sure that you're waiting until your pumpkin dries. I was a little impatient here. But I went around the entire pumpkin, just layering them like every other, and then switching little bumps in the pumpkin where I was putting the little pearl sticker pieces for the base. So I had something to attach this aluminum lace onto. I'm a kid at heart. I like to play with things, okay? Sometimes you have fun while you're crafting, okay? It's not all serious all the time. Cut your lace into sections. This one is my favorite, but this one is nice too. It's smaller, and I cut this one smaller, so this way the thicker ones kind of pop out more. You'll see as we're gluing and go along. I'm straightening them out because I'm going to spray paint them white, so that way the pumpkin is like purple and white, and it's fine silver. It's just what I wanted. You could leave it alone. This worked really well. However, I did go over it with a clear coat just to be safe and let that dry for a good amount of time. I was worried that if I didn't put the clear coat on there that we would have had some chipping. This is not a perfect science, so if you're going to recreate this, take time with your wood slice and your lace and make sure you are gluing. This thing is sturdy. I've dropped it several times, so I can tell you with 100% certainty that if you make sure you're using your E6000 or a Gorilla Glue gel and hot glue on this, it's going to stick together. So it's not a perfect science. You place these where you feel like they're going to work. I did the thicker, you can see it's every other, and then also went back over it with more. I attached the pumpkin with more glue on the bottom with the E6000, so this way when I pressed it down on top of the pieces, it was pushing it down even more. This Bama is definitely glued together. And then as I started pressing the lace, I really had to make adjustments through the process. So it's important to kind of cut your pieces a little bit longer to give you some play, because you might want to put these on here. Do not do this. This was bad. Do not, that little spray thing I tried accomplishing on top there, I was like, this is going to help stick these pieces down. Don't do it. Just use the hot glue. I got that stuff everywhere. I use that little spray Elmer stuff. Don't do that to yourself. Just use the hot glue to hold the stuff in place, and then use a dowel or something to hold it on there for a second while it sticks, and cut as you go. Once you get it all done, and of course I'm busting the clay back out because we're going to make our stem on here. I was not just going to put any old stem on this. This stem is so pretty. I actually like look at it because I love it so much. I created this in the stem has several different sections. You can create your stem however you want. You could just do one big piece if you want. But this took some finagling, and once I got everything molded, and then I took like the little tools to make actual like veins or marks like that's bark, and once I got this all together, it was so funny how I had to set this and seriously let this dry for it to stay in place to be able to keep the curls on this. Oh, good. I did show it. Did you see that? Go back and freeze frame it if you didn't see it. I had like little pieces underneath the spirals to hold it in place, but it's so pretty the way that this turned out. I did use more glue to attach this piece to make sure that it wasn't going anywhere, and then to really make sure it looked cohesive, I brought in some more clay and some water to mold around the piece and then press in around those metal lace, so this way it was all really smushed into this pumpkin and just looked like it was popping out of the metal lace. If you don't want to do this part, you don't have to, but I really wanted it to look like that the stem was coming out and the lace was actually a part of the pumpkin. And if you don't have these tools, just use a toothpick or a little, butter knife to create these little edges, X-Acto knife to give the little, appearance that it's actual pieces of wood. You don't have to have fancy clay tools or fondant tools or anything. Let it dry for 2 hours and then paint it whatever color makes you fuzzy inside. I use a tiny little paintbrush, which is actually one of my little nail paintbrushes. I love painting nails. I love doing nails. My nails always look like they're on the half in these videos. Sometimes they're just falling apart. It is hard to keep nice nails when you DIY and you're filming and you get stuff all over them all the time. Anyhow, enough about me. Back to the stem. Take different colors, just like we did in the ones before, to give you that realistic appearance. Let that dry and then add your florals. This I got from Hobby Lobby. Like I said in the very beginning of the video, you really didn't get a chance to see all of it, but I just cut it all up and pieced it all together, and let me know what you think. I love this one. I had to drop all these mason jar DIYs in here because one, they're quick and easy and they're inexpensive, and two, who doesn't want to throw little mason jar DIYs around their house to add some flair? This first one was super simple with some twine around the top, leaves, and fairy lights, and that's it. And most of these supplies you can pick up at Walmart and Dollar Tree or Target, and I think I even got some stuff at Christmas tree shops. For the second one, it's a very similar style, only I'm using the raffia at the top, and it gives it a little, I actually like this one more than the twine. You have to let me know in the comments, like, do you prefer twine over the, over this hay? It's really what it looks like is hay. Sorry, listen, I have to give it crap. These decorative wire balls I got from Walmart, and we're doing a very similar look. Once again, we're tossing the balls in there with the fairy lights and adding that one at the top. And I really like this one, but I really like the look of this, I guess, with the bow. It just gives it a more louder look to me than the twine. This is one of my favorites. I don't know why I love this one so much, but I think it's just the colors, how the blue leaves at the bottom just kind of light up with the little tea light, and add the little sunflower at the top with a little bit of burlap fabric and some twine with the bow. So cute. This is probably one of my least favorite and lazy DIYs. All I did for this one was just throw the leaves at the very bottom of this and toss in the tea light. Now I did paint the top of the jar, you know, so it's a different color, add a little bit on there, but you know, if you're not too creative, that DIY is for you. For this next one, I don't know why the little wood round does something for me, but it does. Adding it to the bottom of this one with the twine and then the color at the top, this is super elegant to me. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Does that look elegant to you? I think it does. Or, you know, it's all about what you guys like. This one is so pretty. These are from the Dollar Tree, right? You just cut them up, cut little sections, cut as much as you want. The little leaf I got from Amazon, a little wood leaf laser cutout, and put your little fairy lights inside, mix up your mesh how you want, and tie your little bow, put your lid on there. Super pretty. This is one of my favorites, probably the favorite next to the last one. Come on, it's got purple in it. You know I love it. You're going to want to take your fabric and cut it as long as the width of your jar, like it goes around, and pop in your little balls, pop in your florals and your fairy lights, wrap that fabric around, and then use a piece of twine to just tie a little bow around it. To me, this looks like a piece you would pay like $18.99 for in a store like Kirkland's. Now, this gem is, I love painting on glass. I have not done something like this in so long. This is still my favorite glass paint. It can be purchased off Amazon. It works really good. It dries really quick, and it's super simple to use. To start this particular project, you're going to want to use washi tape or any type of thin tape and start sectioning off your mason jar any which way you want. Make sure that the tape, however, does not pop over the strip it's attached to, because once you paint it, there'll be like a little gap and you'll see that. So see how it's like ever so gently inside of the other piece of washi tape. Do as many of these as you want. I was happy with this and then started. I switched colors, kept it fall related, and you want to make sure you're kind of doing long strokes. Try not to do little tiny strokes in your squares, because then you'll have little blotches. Like, follow through the whole way and be quick with it. This stuff dries quickly, so you do not want to take really long doing one section, because as then you're taking your paintbrush and you're going back over it, it's going to start getting splotchy. So just move quickly with your little sections. And even if you're doing this with your other paint and doing the whole jar, I would definitely move quickly and do the whole thing. It roughly took me about 45 minutes to do it like this. If you're painting the entire thing like one color, it doesn't take that long if you use a bigger brush. But something like this, it can be a little time consuming, but I really enjoy painting on glass, so the time doesn't necessarily matter so much to me. You want to take your tape off fairly quickly. You don't want to let it sit too long, because it can get crusty, like super crusty, and then it can be hard to get off. So start pulling it off after you've, like, if you're touching your glass and it's all dry to the touch, just start pulling that tape off of there. One trick I love to do is to come in with your dotting pen, and any bleeding through your clear spots, just getting them crusty bits out of there, so you can etch it and then wipe it off, and it gives you a nice, smooth, clean looking finish before you put on your Mod Podge. So pretty. I love the way this looks. But before you get your Mod Podge out and you start painting it, take your hand and just kind of go over real quick, just to make sure you get any extra crusty bits that may be lingering on. Because once you get this Mod Podge on there, and this really seals after like 48 hours, if you miss a little raised crusty bit, it's in there. You're done. That's not coming out. I do flip my jars upside down to let them dry, so this way the Mod Podge on the bottom doesn't stick to the jar. I'm gonna then glue these laser cutouts to this little wood slice I got in a pack from Hobby Lobby. Take some of this mesh from Dollar Tree with some fairy lights, shove it in the jar, and then put that little slice on the top with some twine. So what were your favorite mason jar DIYs? Mine were 2, 3, 4, and 8. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed these and liked these or could see using any of these with different colors. Next, we have a different type of glass jar DIY. We're going to etch some paint, kind of like what we just did with the dotting pen, only we're going to actually use that to create the style of our DIY. And first you're going to want to pick a color. This is bright. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. The future me is saying what you know what, YouTube will censor me, so you get the idea. Brandi, what were you thinking? It's bright, it's vibrant, and I mean it's really pretty, but today this me would do this in like a blue or a pastel like tea rose. This would be so pretty. But you just take yourself any cutout and you can trace it on and with like a pencil and then go over with your dotting tool. If you do not have a dotting tool, don't fret, get yourself a toothpick. Toothpick will do this job. You might have to clean the little, wood top off and maybe even switch out, but hey, it's free and I'm here to tell y'all what I have learned. Now I've learned a toothpick will do this. You just need to switch it out. I am freehanding this though. Your girl's got some skills. I am actually artsy outside of the whole DIY thing. It's like my side secret. I'm truly deep down artsy. But that's the reason why I really wanted to add this one in here, because you can honestly take this idea and do anything with this. You can make little Christmas bulbs, little Christmas tree, because Christmas is coming, Halloween, at yourself little pumpkins. Listen, I'm here for ideas. Okay, I'm taking some burlap what is it? Is this burlap fabric? Girl, don't be telling these people crazy stuff. I'm taking some fabric, wrapping it around the top, and I shoved a little tea light in there, and this one's done. We're about 30 minutes in. How's everybody doing? Y'all still hanging in here? All right. Well, let's move on to one I would completely do entirely different. Don't even buy this styrofoam thing. Don't do it. Just go get you a styrofoam pumpkin from Dollar Tree. Save yourself the headache. And then you're going to want to Mod Podge that joint or use your tacky glue and then attach your fabric to the pumpkin doing that. This was Noob City. I don't know how else to describe it, but this was nothing but new to the whole YouTube DIYer thing, and I was giving it my best go. However, this is some 80s and 90s skill right here. Who used to sit and make little bracelets, because I did. You don't want to do this either. Don't forget about the Mod Podge. Just ex-nay it. Like, completely get rid of the whole Mod Podge thing. Make your swirls, use your yarn, whatever size you want. I will tell you this, the bigger yarn you have and the smaller yarn you have is going to hugely impact the amount of time you spend swirling these little swirls for your swirls design on your pumpkin. So I torture myself often in like tiny stuff and thought, oh, these cute little tiny yellow spirals are going to be fabulous on here, and forget, I have a life and 3 kids going on and spend hours swirling. You don't want to do that, so pick the size yarn that is going to fit the amount of time you have set aside for this project. You can also braid it like I did this white one to make it a little bit thicker, so you get extra. And you can also spin and see how the yellow one's smaller than the white one. So spin them so that way they are big enough and smaller, so you have different sizes. And then you can use your tacky glue, your hot glue to attach to your pumpkin. The ones I did with the Mod Podge were so stiff and hard to manipulate because your pumpkin's curves, you know. I didn't put that into play. So now, you know, of course I've learned, I'm now passing the knowledge to you. To create your stem, you could use a little piece of bark, you know, you could use a dowel. I'm taking cardboard here, gluing it together, and then wrapping it up with some twine, and then gluing it down on top for the finish. This is just a little leaf that I purchased from Dollar Tree, I think, and I'm putting it on the top here. And of course, I still have this problem. Who watched one of my recent videos, I did the same exact thing and snapped it, applying too much pressure. So that has not changed either. This DIY I actually keep up in my house all year long. I love it. It was $3. If you have a printer, pick out 3 images that you love. I printed out 2 leaves and 1 mason jar. I cut them out, and then I'm going to trace them out on top of a cardboard, just, you know, with a pencil, and then we're going to cut the images out. You can use an X-Acto knife, a pair of scissors, whatever's going to be the easiest for you to make sure these are as precise as you can get them. And I am going a little bit bigger than the actual cutout, so it took up more space in my frame, because you're going to want to take some painter's tape and then attach all your cardboard pieces to the center of the glass. Remove the glass from the frame and then paint both separate colors. You can paint them the same if you want. I did the frame a purple-ish gray color, and no, I did the glass the purplish gray color and the frame white. Now I did notice once I had the spray paint there was a crack in it. So I mean, it's from Dollar Tree. Not all frames are created equal, as you know, but it's $1, you know, and they're still going strong. So just take some caulk if you have it, squeeze it on your finger, and then smoosh it in that little crack, paint it on up, and you know, it's all good. You're ready to just keep on rolling with this DIY. I would make sure before you remove your cardboard pieces that the spray paint is dry. This is not like regular paint where you want to kind of remove it while it's still a little bit wet. If you touch that spray paint, it's going to move, and then you're going to have a fingerprint in it or whatever kind of print. So let it dry, okay? Be a little bit patient. Then attach, you can glue your frames in there, whatever makes you feel fuzzy inside. I didn't. I just put the clamps back down, removed everything, and then it was not as precise as I would like around the edges, so I took my little what is this? I keep forgetting what that is. The little dotting tool. And look, I even have it coming up here. The little dotting pen, and I traced some of the outlines and then added a little bit more detail by taking some white paint and creating some of those highlights inside of the parts that did not have any of the spray paint. So this way, once you flipped it around, it kind of gave the image a little bit more depth. If you make a mistake, just take your dotting tool and etch it up. Don't be afraid to etch it on up. You can put your hanger on here however you want. Just braided up some jute twine, and we glued this on the back, and they're still going strong. Like I said, they're still up on my wall. I keep them up all year long. For this DIY, I am taking apart 2 Dollar Tree pumpkins. If I was going to do this again, I would just get plain wood ones instead of going through all this. However, you know, I'm going to keep the stands because we have fear of throwing things out and then possibly needing them later. We need to hoard all the craft supplies we can hoard. I put a layer of gesso on the back of these to give me a nice, you know, a nice little primed layer and then painted it with some acrylic paint. And then I'm actually hand drawing and then and I did that, you see the little pop-up, I did that in another video for fall and I didn't put that one in here, okay? I wasn't too crazy about that cutting board. I did like it, but you know. Anyhow, I am torturing myself by doing this. This was pre-Cricut, pre-realizing I should just buy some lettered stickers. It did turn out really pretty. It takes time, and I do not have the best handwriting. I give it my best go, you know, I give it my best go. If you're wondering how I'm doing this, you want to take a flat paintbrush and just put 2 different colors, a light color and a dark color, and then keep your paintbrush tilted the same way as you go around the edges. And then you can just kind of blend it as you go back and forth, switching. I did the same little leaf design on the pumpkin that said hello and the one that said fall, and then came back in with some darker paint, giving it some veins, and then blended a little bit more and traced and created some of that depth in them. You don't have, if you want to just grab some leaves and stick it on there, by all means, that's another alternative, and you don't have to stress yourself with all the painting. But as I said, my secret super DIY power is I'm actually artsy deep down, and I hide that, okay? I hide it, so I'm kind of letting it show out in those leaves. Take some white and just add some highlights. Oh, look at my girl. She's a baby. Love her. I know I don't show Harley that much, but there's my girl. She gets sad when that's what she looks like when I'm sitting there making videos. She still does the same thing. Sits there and pouts like, Mom, you're not paying attention to me. Anyhow, to finish up the little decor in between the leaves that I painted, I'm just taking some mesh and some fabric, and do not do this. Stop. Why am I using that spray stuff? Who did I see use that made me feel like I need to use it? That was not a moment that you needed to use it at all. Use your tacky glue to hold your fabric down, okay? And then this, I would not do this. I had ordered these off of Amazon and got the great idea that this would be simple and easier for people that don't really want to use tools. Don't do it. Go to Home Depot, get yourself a 1x1 or not a 1x1, a 1x2, or they have even smaller, thinner pieces of wood, and use your miter box to cut this down. This is painstaking. You know, you could also use wood glue for that. This project ended up popping apart in some spots later because I didn't use those good adhesive glues. So you want to use your E6000 or my favorite Gorilla Glue Gel or wood glue to also tie in like here on these corners. Now I did go over this with some twine in a little bit. You'll see how I wrap it in twine. That did help. But in the center where I just had like those, you got your little piece there, they popped off in different sections. So see how I am twirling it up? Helps when you're using hot glue, but that's why just add in your E6000 or your Gorilla Glue Gel or your wood glue for bonds. Again, look at all the sparkles. That's why I said just get yourself a wood pumpkin. Save yourself the stress of having to clean up a mess or even cover the back. If they have them, pick it up. If not, then do this. But that would have been my last resort. Again, I am taking hot glue to put this on here, and this, as you can imagine, was sort of flimsy. I also did not put a back part. I should have put another piece of wood behind the pumpkins to make sure they stuck on there even better. So if you're going to recreate this, do that. I am terrible at bows. So I give it my best go. I really do. If you came to my channel for bow tutorials, you got the wrong channel. Added some florals, and that was it for this one. For this next project, you're going to need a big leaf from Dollar Tree, and this is fairly simple enough. You just kind of paint the whole leaf whatever color you want. You could decoupage this leaf. The idea, just like the last one with the frame and to have something in, the center, is pretty similar, only we're going to be hanging this one. And I really love ideas like this because you can create custom pieces that are pretty big and hang on your walls in your home, and people are like, whoa, that's nice, where'd you get that from? I made that. I made that big joint. I did it. But I just drew some lines throughout the leaf. Nothing fancy, fairly simple. Did the same type of frame that we just seen in the last one, only I painted this. And remember, we would definitely use wood glues. You don't need me to repeat myself, right? I don't want you in the comments like, all you do is repeat yourself. Listen, you clicked on this video. I'm sorry. I love y'all. Anyhow, who's still hanging out? We're late. We got like 2 minutes left. You skipped. Did you skip? All right. I don't blame you if you did. It's a long video. Bless yous. This one I did a little bit different in the corner than the last. There's so many different ways you can just twirl twine up and make it look fabulous. I'm just taking some florals and some of this wonderful raffia, adding it to the stem, spinning it on around, and then twirling it on the top so we can hang it. I would add some staples in there, just throwing that last little adjustment out there. Anyhow, let me know in the comments below, did you enjoy this mega video and my whole new voiceover? I just wanted to share what I've learned over the past year to help y'all save on time, save on money, save on mistakes. If you can learn from my struggles, do it. I want you to get back to doing what you love and creating what you love. And I had to end this video with this song, right? Until next time.